Welcome to Parkside Podcast, exploring our local parks in the Stroud region. This month, we continue our year-long series, Voices of Our Landscape, which highlights the people, stories, and histories that connect our community to Monroe County's environment, open spaces, and trails. We're exploring how people and the land have shaped each other over time, celebrating the unique intersection of culture, natural history, and outdoor experiences here in our region of the Pocono Mountains. I'm Autumn Hawthorne, Executive Director of Stroud Region Open Space and Recreation Commission. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Katie Uhler, a lifelong advocate for wildlife, education, and outdoor experiences in our community. Katie founded the Pocono Wildlife Rehabilitation and Education Center, taught for more than 30 years at Stroudsburg High School, and has spent a lifetime helping people connect with the outdoors. Before we dive in, I want to mention a couple of programs that you might be interested in. The 250 Miles for 250 Years Challenge is a fun way to explore Monroe County's trails, parks, and open spaces in celebration of the nation's 250th anniversary. And the Friends of Stroud Region Open Space and Recreation Commission is a nonprofit that helps support our parks and recreation programs. Anyone can become a member to help our community enjoy and protect these spaces. More info about everything going on in the parks is at stroudrec.org. So, Katie, welcome to the Parkside Podcast.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about your early years and how Monroe County became such an important part of your life?
Okay. Well, very few people know this, but I was actually born and raised in a famous suburb of Philadelphia called Levittown. It was not a great place to live in a lot of ways, certainly not for me, but luckily my parents bought their first little cabin, and it didn't even have indoor plumbing. That I can remember in 1960, the year I was born, and it was in Marshall's Creek. And if it were not for those summers and weekends through the year that I'd been up here, I'm not sure I could have become the person that I am. So Monroe County has shaped who I am in quite a few ways.
How did your interest in wildlife and environmental education develop?
Well, partly because we were immersed in, I was a few miles from the Delaware River, just exploring the ponds and the lakes and the mountains and the trees. And my parents were kind enough to send me to summer camp for 8 weeks of summer for 5 years when I was growing up on the eastern shore of the Chesapeake.
Wow, that's amazing. So in our area, do you have a favorite park or a favorite trail?
Wow. Gee, if I picked one, I would probably end up having to pick a new one because Pocono Heritage Land Trust is doing such a great job of creating new places to explore. But if I had to pick one, I think I'd have to pick the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, or maybe Promised Land, Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area.
It's got a little bit of everything.
There are so many beautiful places. It's hard to pick one.
So what then drew you to teaching and being at Stroudsburg High School and teaching students?
Well, I come from a teaching family. My mother was a teacher. I've always enjoyed education and being around other educators. I like the process. I like the community. And I also really like adolescence. And as I developed my skills and my interest in teaching environmental education, I went to ESU, got certified, and did student teaching at several schools. And Stroudsburg just had the best combination for me of teaching community and professionalism and interesting kids, really good kids. And the focus, at least at that time when I was hired, was we hired the very best, do your thing. And there was a lot of autonomy in teaching back in those days. And I could grow there and develop and really, really spend time with adolescents.
What was your favorite grade to teach?
Seniors.
Really?
Hands down, juniors and seniors.
What about them?
There's so much going on in their lives, and you get to be a part of it. They've just gotten their driver's license. They're dating. They've got prom. They've got looking at colleges. They've got looking at trade schools. There's so much going on in their lives, and none of it is insignificant. I mean, it is in the grand scheme of life, but to them, they're really big things, and they're fun. I mean, they can be a problem. I understand that, but every age can be a problem, and that's part of their growing and learning where their boundaries are, which is essential to their growth. So I really don't have a problem with that. I just enjoyed. They're just fun.
I agree. Honestly, a lot of our summer camp counselors and our lifeguards are juniors and seniors in high school, and it's so great to get to know them and see them figure out, who they're going to be.
Yeah.
It can be a challenging age, but it's an excellent age. I agree. That's wonderful. And then you founded Pocono Wildlife and Rehabilitation Education Center. So what was your original vision for the center?
Well, I actually started it before I even got my first teaching job, and I mean, it was always volunteer work. I never really made enough to get a salary, but I did an internship while I was at ESU one summer at a wildlife center down in Bucks County, and I just fell in love with it. The hands-on, intense medical care, understanding natural history really, really helped. And ESU really helped form my ability to understand the natural history of animals. So when you're working with them, you can understand so much more about how to get them back to a state of wildness and to really, truly respect that wildness. It was not a place of hugging and cuddling, and they're not pets, and I have pets, but being a part of their wildness and allowing them the freedom to have a second chance in the wild when something happened to them, and most of the time because of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said that you did an internship at one down in Bucks County. Were there many other wildlife centers around?
Certainly not at that time. There might have been 10 decent wildlife centers in the state at that time. So I was the young person. I was the kid. And now it's still not, there are not a lot of people licensed to do it. There are maybe 30 in Pennsylvania right now, and they're not all species wildlife centers. So there are maybe 15 all-species wildlife centers in the state, so it's still not very many because it's so heavily regulated, as it needs to be. And it requires so much time and input of resources and skills that, it just isn't very common.
Yeah, and it's grueling work, too, which I'd imagine makes it hard to get young people into it.
It is, and the Poconos is probably the most significant place for a wildlife center, mainly because of the people. We have a huge diversity of people, and a lot of them come from very urban backgrounds. And so they're either afraid of wildlife or don't know how to behave safely and appropriately around wildlife. So there's a lot of education and safety issues that go along with it.
So over the decades, what have been some of the most meaningful moments for you?
In wildlife rehab? In wildlife rehab, wow. When looking back on it now, the easiest way to answer it is to figure out what I missed the most. I think, and I think that comes down to bear cubs. I really think. I mean, dealing with eagles, going from wildlife rehab when there were no eagles in Pennsylvania to getting, I think now they're getting 10 to 12 a year. I mean, that watching wildlife changes is significant, but bear cubs are the most deeply rewarding experience that I've had. And we were the only wildlife center in the state allowed to care for bear cubs. So it's an intense experience.
I mean, they seem almost like they would be as intelligent and as active as trying to raise puppies.
Way more so. More like children. They're definitely as intelligent as humans. And so there are challenges in making sure that they do not habituate to people because of the danger of that. So it's even more like it's challenging in that sense, in a way that puppies cannot be. You get a little cub in and it's crying because it lost its mom, and you want to do something you have to come up with ways that will calm it that do not involve your touching it. And there are ways of doing it. It's complicated. And they're a political animal on top of it. With the Game Commission, there were regulations and things put on us that we had to meet to have the privilege of raising them and watching them go free, which is phenomenal.
So how has your approach to wildlife education evolved over the years?
I think in the same way that it has with teaching at Stroudsburg, is that we became a relatively urban community. When I first moved up here permanently in the late 1970s, it was still a very rural environment. I mean, I remember driving all the way down 611 and there was like one traffic light from Mount Pocono to Stroudsburg. So as the area evolved, your education has to evolve with it because people change. Whether you're working with wildlife education in public or wildlife or education in a school, when the people that you are hoping to involve and educate and excite change, you have to change your way of teaching. And when people don't have background, you have to start at a different point and work with things that they already know and get them comfortable. I was taking kids outside, that used to bring guns to school so they could go hunting after school. And then all of a sudden I was bringing kids on field trips that were putting plastic bags over their $200 sneakers. Those are the people you want the most. So they actually excited me. The other kids, I knew they were going to be on board. But the ones who were nervous and had to take very big, brave steps to be outside, they're the fun ones to really reach.
And that challenge is happening at the same time as, of course, the development pressure is also making the wildlife work that much more important.
Right. And so getting those people on board and comfortable with wildlife and the outdoors is even more important.
So would you say you've seen people and the land kind of shape each other over the years?
I think so, yeah. And I've seen some, as hard as it is watching the Poconos grow, and we have some serious challenges ahead of us, I think some things have actually gotten better in the last 10 years, yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think we have more, well, again, it's bringing me back to Pocono Heritage Land Trust, but there are lots of others, Nature Conservancy, where I think we have more land saved now than we did 10 years ago. I see people shaping their own personal properties more differently. I remember a time when I saw people graveling their whole properties, white stones, things like that. And I see more natural building, people wanting to do butterfly gardens and pollinator gardens and coming to those kinds of educational opportunities that are offered in Monroe County now by lots of people. That community is sharing their knowledge, again, just like I am, with people who once that switch is turned on, I see them doing more to save their properties now than they did. And so I see some real potential. Possibilities for this area getting even better.
And we'll give a shout out to Pocono Heritage Land Trust really quick. If you want to check out information about them, their website is phlt.org. And so let's give the bottom line on that. Why do you think it's so important to preserve the open spaces and the rural character of our region?
Well, first of all, once it's gone, it's gone. And having open spaces, from a human standpoint, increases property values, increases our health and well-being. That's why people flocked here during COVID, because it provides things that, it's nice to have cities and the culture and everything of cities, but it is for our intense well-being that we preserve these open spaces for humans, for the wildlife as well. But you asked me about people, and for that reason, I'm giving that answer that way, because how we perceive that value is how we will preserve that value.
So are there local places or trails or hidden gems that you feel are especially meaningful to our community's environmental history?
Well, the Delaware River, obviously, because of the history of Tox Island, which I think should be taught in schools. I'm very fearful with the energy issues that we have going on in Pennsylvania right now. I just waiting to see on a news break come up one day that Tox Island, that switch for development is just turned back on, and that we may not have much say in whether, something like that happens. And so I still think it goes back to that area in terms of history, but we have to stay super vigilant and try and keep ourselves aware of what's going on so that we can vote appropriately. I just read something this morning about somebody in Pennsylvania decided they were going to bring up a bill that requires all new warehouses to be wired for solar, so on their roofs. I don't know who that was, but I wish I could call out their name right now, because like all of us have been talking about this. Like, why not? It's like, well, somebody thought of it. Mm-hmm. And at the state level, we may be anywhere at the national level, but we can still control our own selves at the state level. And so as our energy needs grow, if we are educated and outspoken about it, we can accomplish those things. So I think all of that's important.
Yeah, it's important to remember that we can make change locally.
We can.
And speaking of locally, you've been working on a geocaching project for the America250 PA celebration here in Monroe County, and I want to hear about it.
It's super exciting, and it's been exciting and frustrating at the same time. I am a relatively new geocacher. I only have about 75 geocaches under my belt, but I enjoy it. And it's taken me into places in lots of places. I've geocached out of state and such, but it's taken me into places that are absolutely fascinating that I wouldn't have found otherwise. And so this is why I volunteered to do this for this, for this 250th anniversary. And is there any questions you had specifically about it?
Well, I think maybe we should back up for our listeners who might not be familiar with geocaching. Okay. Do you want to explain what it is?
Geocaching is a worldwide, basically scavenger hunt. I don't want to call it people call it a treasure hunt, but the only treasure you get is the satisfaction of finding a box. Sometimes it only has a little piece of paper for you to sign, and other times there's more than that. But the descriptions of where these caches are, many times, not always, but many times, gives you information that enriches your life to see. Historically, natural history-wise, it takes you to places you wouldn't normally be. And my geocaches are all going to... I picked one for each municipality that has an exceptional value, either in terms of human history or natural history. There's something there that's special, and the description will give them that. But the caches also are a challenge, meaning that the way I'm designing this brochure, it'll explain geocaching. You download the geocaching app, which is free. There is a paid version of it, but you can download the free version. And then you look at the map, and when you first open the map, it'll look like the map has measles. There are so many geocaches out there. I will be providing the geocache code for the 20 that I will have set. And each one of those has something special that you can read about and go see. And then there will be a place on the brochure where you can mark. I'm going to have little rubber stamps, little kid stamps in there, and you're going to stamp them as you find them. And when you find a certain number, which is yet to be determined, but somewhere around 12, you will win a prize. So we would like to invite the business community of Monroe County to donate small $5 gift cards, and I want them to be small amounts. This is not supposed to be a big deal, but if somebody wins a $5 gift card to your business, we want them to go in and spend $20 and learn about the businesses that make Monroe County great too, because they have contributed a tremendous amount to the open space. So we want this to be like a full circle kind of thing. So if there's any businesses listening to this, feel free to contact me. We can hook you up, and we will be happy to have those donations. But I think it's cool. I got the idea from Snowmen of Stroudsburg, which I don't care about prizes. I'm the least competitive person you're ever going to meet. But you know what? I went out and I did the selfies with all of them because I got the shirt. And the shirt wasn't anything special. But it's just, we hope that that's what will spur people to go from one place to another. Because some of the places that I've seen just are amazing.
Yeah, I have to say, I love geocaching. If I'm in a new place and I have a little bit of time to burn, I'll open up the geocaching app and just say, okay, I can pop over here really quick and learn something and see somewhere new. But I also think that's why it's so valuable for local people, because we have so much in this area that it's just down the road and you wouldn't even know it.
I am definitely inviting people who have never geocached that live here all their lives. You will see new things. You will learn about things you had no idea about. And it's fascinating.
So what are some of your favorite stories or discoveries without giving too much away?
I found a place that is a business in Monroe County that has Native American stuff and Underground Railroad stuff in the same building.
Really?
So there you go. I found a graveyard that has a memorial tombstone, which is intricately carved story of a Native American slaughtering one of our founding members of the county, and it's all like a diorama done in stone. Unbelievable, from the late 1700s.
Just in a cemetery.
And I got permission to put a cache there so that people can learn about this history. Like, we stood there for 10 minutes and looked at this and went, who carved this? It's incredible. And the rest of the cemetery, you just, it's on just your basic cemetery by the side of the road.
And we have so many of them. We have so many little pocket cemeteries almost on the corner.
And some of the caches already are owned by someone whose name on geocaching is Unamager, and she has graciously helped me learn and is allowing me to use some of her caches, because they're already, her caches tend to be ones that have significance. So I was like, shoot, somebody took that one already. Shoot, somebody. And then I left a message. She was one of the few people who contacted me back and said, oh, heck yes. Let me help you with that project. It's like, yes. And she knows so much. She was part of the borough and historical buildings. It's like, so she's super knowledgeable. So I'm getting some help on that. It's just amazing things that are historical and also natural history. So I'm taking you to a couple of the parks that have several geocaches in them. So they'll get to the one that has the stamper, but then it's like, well, as long as you're here, go through and you're going to see a beautiful creek. You're going to see the remnants of an old railroad. You're going to see hemlock trees and the importance of hemlock trees in our area and all of that, so that people can go into some of the different natural history areas in our county.
And it's really important to see how human history and natural history are completely woven together. Yeah. You can't separate them. So what kind of challenges have you faced in setting up this geocaching?
Well, the first spot that I tried, and I'm just starting to place now, was already taken. And so I found a spot, has to be 500 feet away, where I could get one, and somebody placed one right before I had a chance to do it. And now it's like, and so, you contact people and hope that they'll either move it a little bit, or some people are not going to happen. So trying to wiggle around ones that are already there. There are just some technical issues, but and there are places where once I find that spot, I really want it there. Like, because this particular spot has history that goes back to 1770s. Well, 250 years ago, and the structure that's there does not have a geocache explaining what that structure was for and how it was important in Sullivan's March and all of that. The two geocaches that are now there, and they are distances away that I could fit one in there if the geocaching people let me, but neither of them have any content in the geocache. Like, there's no explanation of anything important, so I can't just use somebody else's and put a stamper in it. So if the geocaching people won't let me do it there, even though it's a tight squeeze, I can't show that property off anymore. So there've been technical issues.
Yeah. What is your design for your cache?
And they're just basically an 8-ounce plastic jar that I'm going to cover with camouflage tape, and then inside the jar, until we start the actual challenge for people, we'll just have a log in it, and maybe I'll throw some stickers if I get some stickers done, for something that people can take. When the challenge starts, I bought little kids' rubber stamps that have letters on them, and each cache will have a separate letter so they can stamp the card that you get when you get the challenge. You pick up the brochure, and then once you get that finished, then you can go redeem for whatever prizes we have.
That's excellent. So what is your timeline like? When do you think we'll be launching the challenge?
You'd have to ask the people who are in charge of this. Whatever they tell me, the committee, Land and Open Space Committee, whatever they tell me, I'll make sure that there's stampers ready to go, but all the caches will be placed earlier than that.
Excellent. That's really exciting. Yeah. And brochures will be available?
Probably, I would say Monroe County Historical Society has been on board. If we can print enough of them, I'd like to put one at the Tourism Center, the Welcome Center in Delaware Water Gap. And stores can carry them if they want. It depends on how many the committee can afford to publish.
Yeah, excellent. And where can people find more information about it?
Well, that's
Not quite up yet?
I would assume that that's going to be added to the open space, the Monroe open space thing. I'll just I'll give them a blurb and they can.
Perfect. And we'll make sure to share it through the Stroud Rec Facebook and Instagram too. So it's.
But I've seen places in this county that I didn't know existed. So it's pretty exciting just to wander around and find the very best. And I've met some amazing people too. You know, the older people that have been here for generations have talked to me.
Maybe we'll mention geocaching etiquette really quick.
Good idea.
In my experience with geocaching, and tell me if it's different for you, but you're not supposed to let other people see you find the cache.
Yeah, they're called muggles.
Mm-hmm. They're called muggles, yeah. So you kind of have to be a little bit sly Stealthy. About it. Yeah.
And please don't damage anything. One of the places that gave me permission had problems when there was a geocache there before with people bothering the property. And I said, I'm not going to place it on the property. They said, people have come on and they've, done things. So, be nice. Leave the stamper there. Don't take anything. It's supposed to be fun for everybody. So and if you find a piece of litter, take it out with you. It's cash in, litter out. It's part of being a part of that community.
Yeah, and if anybody comes up with any issues along the geocache, right in the app, there's a way that you can send
That's right,
message.
And I will get the message that, someone stole the stamper. I bought 3 sets, so hopefully I can keep up with that for at least a year, while this challenge is going on.
Excellent. Anything else you want to share about the geocaching?
I'm excited to be a part of the whole process. I just, now that I'm retired, being a member of a community has always been a goal for me. And I've never really felt like I was, even though I was serving the community with wildlife and teaching. Now I get to do something more hands-on, and I'm excited about it.
So now that you're retired, what else are you up to?
Kayaking, walking in the woods. Spending time with my husband. We bought a motorhome, so we're doing a little bit of traveling, mainly state parks, some out of state, but mostly in state. Spending time with new friends in my new community because I moved from the Wildlife Center to LaBar Village. Mostly outdoor things. I would like to start getting back to writing, but I haven't had time to do that yet.
What's your genre?
Actually, it's nonfiction. I did write for Pocono Living magazine. I'd like to get back to that. But I also run a write in a high school ecology virtual textbook, an e-text, because there is no such thing as a high school ecology textbook. They're all college unless they're environmental science. And environmental science and ecology are 2 completely different things.
Huh.
And I don't understand how you can teach what's wrong with the world unless you understand how the world works first, and that's ecology. And that's what I taught.
Absolutely. I hope that you're logging your miles when you're out hiking and kayaking.
I was going to ask you when we're finished the podcast, because I tried to figure out how to get into that and I failed, and so I need some help with that. And yes, I want to log my miles. I do. I'd love to do that.
I will absolutely show you. Google Forms sometimes a little finicky. And if anybody listening, if you need help logging your miles,
is the problem.
Feel free. Yeah.
I just found out I was writing the brochure for this geocache thing and found out that Microsoft is getting rid of Publisher, and next year all of the Publisher publications I ever made are going to disappear. Like, I will not be able to do them anymore. And I'm like, okay, that means that I have to find something on Google. Not a fan.
That is, yep, that's good to know.
If they ever do that with PowerPoint, I'm really in trouble.
Agreed. Ooh, good to know. I'm gonna have to look at some of my stuff too. Man, for those of us who make things that we put out in the public.
Publisher's a godsend for me.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to share about what you're up to?
The last thing is a personal thing. I was just diagnosed with celiac disease in April. So I am learning not just a new diet, but I'm like looking found out what restaurants around here are amazingly good at accommodating people, and we're really lucky to have some. And those restaurants where you see GF on the menu tend to be the cleanest restaurants around, because they have to be to be able to accommodate that. So you can feel good about supporting restaurants that accommodate gluten-free. So it's a big lifestyle change, but I'm healthy.
Yeah, hey.
I'm kayaking, I'm swimming, I'm hiking, so ain't going to stop me.
What advice would you give to people who want to connect more deeply with our local natural history or human history or any of it?
That's a good question. The first thing is, and again, go down to Forever Green, Broadhead Watershed, and Pocono Heritage Land Trust have their offices there. They have brochures there for their trails. Go on Monroe County Environmental Ed Center's website. Join their walks in the Cranberry Bog and some of the lead trails that Pocono Heritage Land Trust has walks. You guys have some walks. Just get on as many different free sites as possible and go on ones where there's a leader. I know an awful lot of stuff, and I go on a bog trail walk and I learn new things. And sometimes I can help with adding to it, but for the most part, there's always something more to learn. And if you're a newbie, it makes things much more comfortable, and you will see things you didn't see before. You know, it's like when you buy a car and all of a sudden you see all of the other cars that are like yours out there. The more you know, the more, like from other people, the bigger your experience gets to be. And there are some phenomenal people in this county.
Absolutely. And it's, you also learn little tricks, like nobody ever looks up. You got to remember to look up.
Oh, when I drive and I see a bald eagle flying over, and I think of all the people driving by that are missing that, and it makes me so sad. So yeah, learning to look around. But when you're around other people who are looking around, you learn to do that. It's what Hawk Mountain's all about, and it's the same thing. So go to places and go on those trips, and don't be afraid. Put on a sturdy pair of shoes and just go out with people. There are people who can't wait to show you.
There are people who will talk your ear off about
and that's
what's out
fine.
there. Absolutely. Yes. It's perfect. So looking ahead, what are some of your hopes for the future of Monroe County's open spaces and the way the community engages with it?
I hope that we continue on the same track. There is no way to prevent certain kinds of growth, but we have groups of people who, like Broadhead Watershed, who are there to make sure that every possible way of preventing damage is done. There are groups of people who are saving land and not just preserving them and holding them aside and saying, you can't go there, but inviting you to see it so that you can become part of that process. It becomes a groundswell. And when you get enough people, it becomes an overwhelming tide of, we came here because we love what we have. And we can have jobs and we can have this, but we can preserve the most important parts of what we have. And I think that immersion of the newer people, especially, but some of the people who've been here for generations too, they can all everybody can use that kind of guided understanding of the importance of that to our human health and well-being and our economic health and well-being.
Yeah, and Broadhead Watershed Association, for info, it's bwa.org.
Thank you, because they are absolutely essential to our water's health.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your story today.
My pleasure.
Your perspective of the intersection of people and landscape has been really interesting, and I'm very excited to get on that geocache as soon as it's available. So if you're looking for ways to explore Monroe County, the 250 Miles for 250 Years Challenge is a fun way to experience the trails, parks, and open spaces throughout the region. You can log your miles at stroudrec.org/250 for 250 and give us a call if you do need a hand with that. And if you'd like to help support local parks and recreation programs, consider joining the Friends of Stroud Region Open Space and Recreation Commission. Your membership helps to make these opportunities possible for everybody. Check it out at stroudrec.org. Thank you for listening, and as always, go outside and play.